Welcome to Unit 2 for 4th graders. This unit is going to be about waves and how they interact with our daily lives. The first thing you might think of is going to be water waves, but there are many different ways in which waves impact our lives, much more than waves that happen in an ocean or a lake. Your driving question for this unit is, how do humans use waves in different ways without knowing? Most waves you cannot physically see unless you set up an experiment or an exploration to show those waves. Some of the key unit vocabulary that you'll be learning throughout this unit are wavelength, amplitude, sound waves, light waves, crests, and troughs. Some of these vocabulary words you'll be learning about the first week, some you'll be learning about later in the unit. So make sure that you are staying up to date with your assignments. The next couple pages are pages that you can look through. These are the science standards and other standards that are related to this unit. Those will be located on Mastery Connect, and this is where your grades will come into play. Your outcomes and goals for this unit are going to be, you'll be able to identify the parts of a wave, which you should have a very good understanding after the first week. You'll also be able to show the differences in sound and light waves. And lastly, you'll be able to create one resolution to how we might help people who cannot see or hear well. So this is the real-world connection in which you're going to think about a way in which you could help people. Your writing masterpiece this week is going to be poetry, and you'll be creating 5 different types of poems and creating a short portfolio. And these are very reflective and descriptive. So as you write these poems, and I'll go through the directions each week, you are going to be using very descriptive writing where you're actually painting a picture for the reader. For your week 1 instructions, you're going to first create a Google document titled Waves, Hearing, and Sight. Then you're going to log into Discovery Education and watch the video to the right. As a reminder, you need to make sure that you go to waukesha.discoveryeducation.com, and your username and password are going to be your school username and password. Then, on a piece of paper, and you can hand draw this, I'd like you to draw a diagram of what a wave looks like. Make sure to include the key terms and label them, wavelength, crest, trough, and amplitude. And then after you draw your diagram, I want you to take a picture of that and place it onto your Google document. Underneath that picture, I want you to then write in your own words what the parts of the wave are. If you're struggling to figure out what they are just by looking at it and watching the 15-minute video, you can also use this website, which is going to be a great resource because it has the definitions as well as a picture to go with it. So it'll help you understand what the different parts of the waves are. Make sure as you answer the questions or give the definitions that you're very specific with what they are, but also explain it in your own words. That's your way of showing me that you understand what the words mean. For your math connection this week, I'd like you to create a Google document titled Unit 2 Math Connections, and then you're going to download and print out this worksheet that's located on the link. If you have a PDF converter, which would allow you to write on the worksheet, you can do that and actually answer the questions on the worksheet. Otherwise, I'd like you to print it out and you can answer by hand. You're going to be making measurements as well as answering a couple of questions. So make sure that you answer these questions to the best of your ability. And up top is going to be a great explanation of how to complete the worksheet. It gives you an example along with what the different questions mean. After you're done with that, if you have a PDF converter, you can just simply upload it into the Unit 2 Math Connections worksheet. Otherwise, I would like you to actually take a picture of the worksheet and put it into your Unit 2 Math Connections. Unit 2 Math Connections is going to be something that you're building throughout the unit. So just be aware that it should be created week 1. For your writing connection this week, this will be the first different poem that you're going to be writing. It's called an acrostic poem. An acrostic poem is going to use a specific word, and it's either going to be the first letter of every line or it's going to be the last letter of every line. So the example that you see here is acrostic. That would be what the poem is about. So every line is going to start with that letter, the respective letter, but then as it builds, it's going to also talk about what an acrostic poem is. So what I'd like you to do this week is you are going to create a Google document titled Unit 2 Poetry, and this is where all of those different poems are going to be located. And then you're going to choose one of these words, wavelength, trough, crest, or amplitude. And that'll be your first letter again, or it could be the last letter of every line. It doesn't matter. Make sure that you bold that letter so I know what you're using, but then I want you to create an acrostic poem, and it can be about anything to do with waves. So it doesn't have to be specific to wavelength, trough, crest, or amplitude, but you can write about waves in general. Make sure that you're thinking not just about water waves, but about all waves, the parts of the waves, what goes into a wave, and so on. At the end of each of your writing connections, I would like you to go back and edit to make sure that all of your sentences and your stanzas make sense. Also make sure that you follow directions and that all of the first or last letter are bold. And make sure that everything that you have this week actually relates to what a wave is.